What's up? My name is Ken Dumbo, the MC with the sauce. Don't forget to subscribe to JQ.
An update here. The Nkana Member of Parliament, Binwell Mpundu, has been released from police custody after being charged with seditious practices. His arrest followed a Facebook post in which he allegedly incited members of the public to defend themselves, an act police claim is prejudicial to public order. He's in studio with us here. Yesterday, he did receive solidarity from many individuals from the opposition and friends alike. And he's here to talk to us just about that. Honorable, it was a pleasure to have you. Good morning.
So it's a pleasure. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
You seem to be in good spirit. I mean, after spending, it was over 24 hours in the police, so you're quite
slightly around 24 hours. It was a beautiful experience. I think one that cannot be escaped by a politician, especially in the times we're living in. It gives you more of what needs to be done in this country if you go into the police custody. I did a lot when I was DC to try and better the conditions at Kamfinsa Correctional Facility. I think that politicians must do more because we've actually visited these facilities and they remain filthy. And so that experience for me motivates me to want to do more to try and better those, because it looks like a police cell, a prison is a hotel for a politician. So what is we have the power, we must do more to change, the conditions. And more, if you go into those cells, you find young people who have been locked up for an unimaginable number of days. I found a young man who has been there for 50 days for crimes that you don't warrant you to be in there for such a very long time. So I think that for me, it is an experience worthwhile.
Let's get into these allegations that had you in police custody, and that's on seditious practices. What do you make of the interpretation that was made of your Facebook post, which Justin had mentioned at the start of the show?
So let me start by saying, look, I'm not here to, lest I am again taken in for seditious practice. I want to take this, platform to be able to let us educate each other, because you see the law is very dynamic and is prone to have multiple interpretation. But one thing is very clear, we need to have one set of laws in this country, because over time we seem to have drifted to have what George Orwell spoke to in the book Animal Farm, where you have two sets of laws, that one that appeals to these people and one that appeals to those people. So the starting point would be, I'm charged with a crime of seditious practice. This is a crime that has not been, enacted now or created now. It's a case that used to be used by our colonial masters back in the days, at a time when Zambians decided we needed to free ourselves. There were activities like you would, urge people, guys, let's take stones, the cha-cha-cha days. Literally, you would go, guys, on that day we must pick stones. So this law was crafted to more or less deter people from raising the public against the government, the colonial government then. I think that if you follow the successful government from UNIP up to now UPND, this has less been heard, even for you as journalists. This is the first time, almost in 60 years that we are getting to have this crime being so prominent. The fact is, this is an old piece of law or crime that used to be used more by our colonial masters to deter the uprising of Zambians against the colonial rule. Now, seditious in context means when uttering or publishing statements that incites the public to rise against the government. Okay, so it must be underlined. You publish either by word of mouth or by writing words or statements that will incite people to rise against a government. Now the catch is, when you utter these statements, they must incite somebody to rise. The question would be, when you utter this statement, who was incited to rise against the government? Because if you look at my statement, because the context must be clearly understood, to incite the public to rise against a government. Now, my statement was made in relation to the incidents that happened in Kawambwa. I think by now you colleagues in the media are aware of what happened to Sean Tembo. On the day of voting in Kawambwa, Sean Tembo and team were pursued by UPND cadres, led by Trevor, according to the report. And these Sean Tembo and team ran to the police station for refuge. Remember, the police are there to guarantee our safety. They ran to the police station. Interestingly, at this police station in Kawambwa, Police Commissioner Yui, famous Yui, was there. And they ran into his office. The narration of Sean Tembo suggests that, in fact, the police started chasing them out. Despite seeing, you know, the criminals chasing after them. So they were attacked right in front of police officers. Not at the police officers' homes, right at the police station. What does that tell you? They were on their own at that moment. Okay? So when you are on your own, there's nobody to protect you. The law of this land is very clear. You have to defend yourself. I am not the first person who's making this statement vis-a-vis asking people to defend themselves. President HH made that statement when he was in opposition. And I've heard very funny statements from one Simon Mwewa, who says, I made a statement for the public to rise against or to defend themselves against police arrest. No, that is very funny. And I think that an old guy like Simon should not make that statement for the sake of being relevant. The point is, my statement went in as far as speaking to this incident of Kawambwa, where Sean Tembo and team are attacked right in the presence of the police. And because they cannot be protected by the police, they have to defend themselves. It is not wrong. It is not illegal to defend yourself against aggression. Now, the catch for the law is that when you defend yourself, the force you use must be equal to the aggression. If I slap you, you must slap me back in self-defense. If I harm you with a machete or what, your proportionate response must be equal. You must otherwise defend yourself with a machete. If you come with a gun, I have to use a gun because the force will be proportionate. Now, interestingly, there's a context in that statement of asking my fellow politicians to own guns. Buy a gun. I urged my fellow politicians. So the question now would be, is it illegal in Zambia to own a gun? 3/4 of businessmen in Zambia, 3/4 of politicians, 3/4 of citizens who can afford today have guns. They've bought guns. Why is the law? Because the law in Zambia has permitted citizens to buy guns. Okay? Now, those guns must be legally acquired. It's actually the police that will clear you to own a gun.
Mr. Mpundu, maybe just before you continue, talking on the Kawambwa incident that you are alluding to in relation to PEP President Sean Tembo. If police, they say police didn't exactly react in protecting them in that moment, but we haven't heard from police on their side of the story on whether they really asked them to leave the police station when they were seeking refuge from the police then. Why should your main action, your reaction to this situation be to ask others to protect themselves instead of starting to question the police on where they could do better, or just ask why the authority didn't in that moment protect the citizen who wanted or needed, how you're describing it, in that moment they needed protection from the police? Or why didn't you take the channel of complaining on the conduct of the police then to see who was wrong and maybe who can be faulted there before you went to advising others to start protecting themselves by owning guns?
Doesn't it interest you that it's almost a month since the Kawambwa elections were held and you've never heard a statement from the police in regarding to that incident? Because this is the police that we know has been very excited to issue statements Okay? This is a government where a minister of Home Affairs will issue a statement even on suspicions of JJ Banda being spotted, suggesting we have arrested him. Okay? So, with such a grouping of people that are excited to issue statements, doesn't it interest you that almost a month down the line, the police have said no word in regards to the instance of Sean Tembo being attacked right in front of the police officers?
But Honorable, isn't it also possible that they are probably still conducting investigations?
How do you conduct
and I say this also because a few days ago we did see Transparency International Zambia release a report. Obviously, this is a report coming through from their election monitors. Isn't it possible also that the police can still just be investigating on the matter and later to release a statement on the same?
Investing a matter is okay. Waiting to release a report after investigation is okay. But you see, there must be a statement right there and then to suggest that, look, we have received this issue, this report, this incident. We've seen Sean Tembo making these claims. We are aware of this or we are not aware, but we are going to give a statement when we conclude our investigation. I think that is what a responsible police would do. Because this is a huge matter. For a politician the size of Sean Tembo to announce the whole country right in camera, pointing to his injuries and suggesting that cadres attacked him right in the presence of a police commissioner of a province, and you remain quiet for a month, that is big. That is big. In all manner of content and intent, that is too big an issue that can be let to lie low as the case would be for almost a month. I think that what a normal functioning police service would have done is to at least speak to that matter. In the meantime, we've seen this allegation by Sean Tembo. We are not aware of this incident, or we are aware, but we are going to give a statement as and when we conclude investigations. You speak to the issue of why would we ask citizens to stand ready to defend themselves as opposed to going to the police to wake them up. Is it the first time we are getting to hear of violence at the hands of the UPND during by-elections? Are you not aware, or don't you remember that there was a by-election in Chirilabombwe where UPND cadres had to go and brandish guns on the time of counting votes, shooting guns to scare off polling agents so that they could then have a field day in counting the votes? Is it the first time that we are getting to hear of these violence activities? Is it the first time that opposition political parties have cried out over violence? Is it the first time? No, it's not.
Well, obviously, yes, we have seen these by-elections tainted or marred with political party violence. But from what I'm getting is you seem to lack confidence in our law enforcers. Do you lack confidence in the Zambia police?
Look, for me, I want to give the police a benefit of doubt. Look, from my experience, from my ordeal, vis-a-vis me being arrested, I think that the police are going through so much, and we need to sympathize with them.
What do you mean by so?
I think that they're working under so much stress in being told what to do and not what to do. Ordinarily, when you are working under such a heavy hand, you tend to miss the point, or you tend to miss on the must do, for yourselves. I think that the police needs our support. That is what I've learned in the last couple of hours, that they need our support. We need to encourage them. But there's no justification whatsoever, no matter how much you are being pressured to do what is wrong or to fail to do what you must do. If there's going to be a report of citizens being attacked right in your faces, there's no justification that, first of all, you should remain quiet. Now, we are talking about a police unit that is very, has an insatiable appetite for issuing statements before they can even conclude any investigations. You cannot then justify their silence to mean they could be investigating. Now, my dear sister, we have done everything that needs to be done in as far as calling on this government to act responsibly. Okay? Now, there only remains one thing when you are cornered or you are in a particular situation: to act right. All right? This incident takes me to very sad, memories of my friend who is now on the run. How, my friend JJ actually announced who abducted him. But up to now, there's not been a single report or statement as to what has been done in pursuing those who have been mentioned in those crimes. So all these are small things. The confidence in a system is built by actions. And us being dissatisfied with the system also comes with the little inactions, the inertia, the laissez-faire to act, the laissez-faire to respond to these calls. Slowly is building in our minds and hearts that perhaps we are on our own. But when we are on our own, I want to say this again and to the public, that when you are on your own, the law empowers you to defend yourself. In fact, the law has been very clear. When you defend yourself, you must defend yourself with equal measure to the aggression. This is the law. This is not Binwell Mpundu making it. Now, I know that there's been a lot of comments, and I laugh at this because sometimes people lose minds because they want to remain relevant. Inciting people, you cannot say Binwell incited people to rise against a government when Binwell is saying defend yourselves against UPND cadres. How does asking you to defend yourself against a UPND cadre mean me inciting you to rise against the government?
How would you describe the political party violence being experienced now and that which occurred before 2021?
Name one instance today, in 4 years almost now, name one instance, you are in the media, where it was reported that opposition political players attacked a UPND. Name one instance. But I would name a catalog. I'll give you a catalog of instances where UPND cadres have been on record during these by-elections attacking the opposition, including brandishing guns. And when I mean brandishing, not just to end at just showing off, shooting at a polling station. These are on record. So you see, we must be a people. We must not be hypocrites. We must practice what we are preaching. Let's start with the issue of violence. I heard an interesting theory from, Simon, where I refer to him because he's a famous guy, who suggests that the difference with my statement and the President HH's statement is that President HH back in the days was asking his supporters, interesting that is not inciting, his supporters to rise and defend themselves against cadreism. And Binwell Mpundu today is saying, can you rise up and defend yourselves against those cadres who are coming to attack you? It's different. Because me, I am saying, rise against police arrest. Come on. How absurd can we become? The issue is, we've reached a level where we must have a very honest conversation around the issue of violence, around the issue of cadreism. Unfortunately, what the UPND has done is carefully sweep this debt under the carpet and hoodwink the citizens to suggest that there's no cadreism. Cadreism right now is not at the market, but it is very rife and vicious. Vicious to a point where named individuals who are cadres would abduct people.
It's true. Hooliganism is more the term to use, more than cadreism. Cadreism is just simple support,
yes,
or backing of the. But hooliganism, we have seen it here and there. But when you see statements such as yours from leaders, don't you see it as trying to meet a wrong with a wrong? Don't you think this would lead to chaos if you're trying to meet a wrong with a wrong? An eye for an eye will leave all of us blind. No, you don't see it from that angle?
Binwell Mpundu is not speaking from without. Binwell Mpundu is speaking to the law. You don't call it an eye for an eye. If I suggest to you...
It is. You tell me, if I charge at you, Vida, charge back. But what about I withdraw?
I will be a very irresponsible leader if I told you somebody comes with a knife, you must guard, or you must let the law deal with that one. They will kill you. Is that what I want to see? No. A responsible leader like HH would tell people, Bane, you are going to be killed. Please defend yourself, because you don't want to see your supporters being killed. If somebody comes with a knife or with a tool, as mentioned in the case of Sean Tembo, their intentions are not to scare you. Their intentions are to kill you, to harm you. All right? A responsible leader would call for their supporters to do what is right to protect themselves.
Well, when we talk the UPND, we've seen them on record talk against violence, especially from their supporters.
Which one?
Even just yesterday, it was on our news where they were talking, if you do any wrong, you're on your own.
Did they condemn the Kawamba violence? Because you see, they
have been speaking against violence with their supporters.
We were hosting the Minister of Youth, and he condemned
the violence. He did condemn
that occurred.
It's okay. It's okay to be on record to condemn a violence. What is critical in addressing this evil is being seen to act. As have they acted on the issue of Kawamba? Because the characters who were involved in that fracas are named.
Don't you think it's also necessary to involve another entity here, an entity that is in charge of electoral processes in Zambia, like the Electoral Commission of Zambia? If the channel towards the Zambia police is broken, why not engage the
actual authority there,
which is the Electoral Commission of Zambia, to implement the Electoral Code of Conduct?
Are you asking me to go to the ECZ, who are on record to be abrogating the law, the Constitution? Just not 2 days ago, I was talking about, the ECZ chairperson who made a statement to suggest that if a participant in a by-election is going to withdraw, we are going to proceed with the elections. How does a chairperson of elections even have the audacity to make that statement? It is kept in the Constitution that if in an election race a candidate withdraws, you must go back to the nominations.
So in this case,
whether they are costs or not. But here is a chairperson who is suggesting to hell.
So in this case, you would not go to the Electoral Commission of Zambia to report. Do you want to be wasting time? No, I'm certainly not a guy who's going to go to a people that are on record, raping the Constitution. This is a body that has been ignoring court judgments. We have had the by-elections in Kawamba for the mayor. We have had a by-election in Kawamba for an MP, despite there being an active case where the courts have actually put that on hold. Don't proceed. The ECZ is saying to hell, we are going to proceed. Today the ECZ is saying to hell, if you withdraw from this race, you back off, we are going to proceed. You see, you asked me a question about, do we have confidence? We are slowly losing confidence. And trust is a big word. It takes a long time to build trust in an institution. It takes a long period to build trust in a partner. Small acts takes off that trust. And this is me calling on the police. It will not help the police to begin to silence people who are speaking out. It will not help. It will help the police to begin to act. When there are signs of violence perpetrated by those who are in the ruling party, act. Because, by the way, why are we so much focused on the cause for self-defense? By the way, there will not be any need to defend oneself if there's no aggression. How would you describe the fair application of the law in Zambia today?
There's no fair application, my brother. I'll give you just one instance. Let's look at the law called hate speech. Member of Parliament for Lumezi, Honorable Mnia Zulu, says the people of Lumezi are more intelligent than the people of Bwengwa. You must know, in Lumezi, they are not only Ngonis or Tumbukas, they are Bembas there. In Bwengwa, they are not only Tongas, they are Lozis, Bembas, and Ngonis. So when you say these people in this district called Lumezi are more intelligent than the people in Wengwa. You are not suggesting the Ngonis are more intelligent than the Tongas. Is that what it means? No, sir. But Munia is in courts today on hate speech. Now, compare this. The Minister of Education goes to my province in Luapula and says, these people of Luapula, they suffer from mental poverty. That's an insult. That's an insult. So the Minister of Education is walking free. Munia Zulu is in court. Are you going to say that there is a fair application of the law? There's a boy called Why Me. It's an interesting issue. Who has been insulting. I don't support insults. But there are a horde of UPND cadres who staged a press conference where they were saying they are going to circumcise Edgar Lungu. Is that a fair application of the law? Why Me is rotting in jail? Those boys are continuing to spew insults against citizens.
And what about the side of, issue around political persecution? Do you think that maybe, individuals are mistaking this for just mere lawlessness? Because, and I bring this up because every single time that we get to see somebody being arrested, the police will tell you what you're being charged for.
Yes, they will tell you what you're being charged for. That's for a fact. They always say, we are charging you for seditious practice. And oftentimes, we see them wanting to waste your time or to inconvenience you, because even the police knows. When you take Binwell you arrest Binwell over seditious practice, over the statement I made, even the police knows that they are fishing. But it's a matter of let's inconvenience him. Let's punish him. Because others believe I'm going to go to Petauke.
Or maybe they're just implementing the law the way it should be implemented.
What law? You see, the law is a very interesting thing. And I want to ask citizens to take an interest in the law. They say that knowledge is power. We are going to be empowered when we get acquainted with the law. Let us avoid pedestrian, conversations where you speak from without the law. When you say own a gun, it is not illegal. And I can encourage you, go to the police, start a process, and own a gun. It is for your safety. I want to say the same to you. Go to the police, start a process, own a gun. Because today, we have a lot of crime going on. Petty thieves, from petty thieves to criminals. You need to be ready to protect yourself. Is that illegal? It's not. It is within the law. That is why the law has provided that if you want to protect yourself and your families, you can go to the police, get a firearm in readiness to protect yourself. The law also tells you, when you find yourself in a corner where there's nobody to protect you, protect yourself.
Mr. Mpundu, on that note, I would have to close this interview, but thank you so much for joining us on the program. Wishing you all the best. Will we expect to see you with the campaigns going on in Petauke? Will we expect to see you?
You are going to infuriate people.
Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, J Cool, and turn on the notification bell, cause I'm gonna see you in the next video.